Oh, yeah. Too bad I don't know where they are.
The Planning Commission meeting is coming to order. Morning break. And we're going to go on to case AA, Administrative Appeal 2015-002. And I realize there are a lot of people that must all be here about this issue. And we all know from your letters that you feel pretty emotional about this situation, this application, building permit application. I just would like to say, we'll hear from as many of you as we can, all of you. We'll be here till we're done, but it's helpful if you want to speak. If you do fill out a speaker card, because we can pronounce your name better, spell your name better, and so on. They're in the back of the room. And I'd kind of at this time, for time's sake, like to know generally how many people would wish to speak. If you would raise your hand, and we can, okay, good. That doesn't prohibit you if you didn't put your hand up, but I think because there are so many, we will use the timer when the public comment period arrives. And it's a 3-minute timer. It'll be a green light until the 3 minutes are up and it'll turn red. You won't be cut off in the middle of a sentence, but it does signal you to kind of try to wrap up your comments and hopefully not repeat the same thing too many times if we've already heard it. But our process is going to be, we will have the staff report, we'll hear from our staff, we'll hear from our county council, we'll hear, we may have questions, the commissioners may have questions of staff, but when the staff report is finished, then the appellant will have a period. We'd like to ask that it's no more than 20 minutes. And then we'll open up for, then we'll note our correspondence. We'll want to do that and the telephone calls. And then we'll have the public input period.
Madam Chair, if I may interject,
Yes.
that's loud. We do, after the appellant makes their presentation, allow the applicant, the representative for Dollar General or the property owner comment.
Also, so those two will happen before we go to public input.
Correct.
Great. Okay. When there are questions brought up in either by the appellant or the applicant and the public that are to staff or the commission, we're going to hold commenting on those until at the end of the public input, so that if there are similar questions, we'll just have to use time to answer them once. So, with that said, I think we're ready to go to the staff report.
Thank you, Andy Gustafson, Chief Planner. And just by way of brief introduction before I turn this over to Graham Hannaford, the staff planner, who will present the remainder of the report. Just wanted to comment that this hearing concerns an appeal of an administrative decision that is routinely conducted or given in our development review process. It is a decision associated with a building permit for a project that planning will take a look at it and grant or not zoning clearance depending on the proposed development associated with the building permit. It happens, I'll say, if not literally, certainly hundreds of times a year. And in this instance, as allowed by Section 2192.035 of our zoning code, it could be a matter that could be appealed, and the appeal is really on the granting of the zoning clearance and the issues or information that is looked at by the planner during that review process. So with that, I want to turn it over to Graham, who will take you through the zoning clearance process in this particular case. Thank you.
Hello. Graham Hanford, planner, is not on.
Is that better? There we go. Hello, Graham Hanford, Planner 2 for the County of Mendocino. I'm going to present essentially the zoning clearance plan check that was performed on building permit BU 2015-0104. On February 24th, the application for the building permit was submitted to the Planning and Building Services proposing a commercial retail building on assessor's parcel number 163132-14. On June 8th, after being cleared by Planning and Building Services and the Department of Environmental Health, the permit was issued. On June 16th, within the appeal period, an appeal was submitted to the Department of Planning. So that's the outline of the events that brought us all here today. When we receive a building permit, the planning department performs, as Mr. Gustafson was saying, a zoning clearance, or sometimes referred to as a plan check internally. For this plan check, we take a look at the assessor's parcel number and we determine what the general plan land use designation is and also what the specific zoning is. In the general plan, every chunk of land has a land designation, and within that land designation there are certain zonings that are consistent with that land use designation. In this particular case, APN 163132-14, the subject parcel, it has a general plan designation of commercial, and C2 general commercial is consistent with that land use designation. This is a aerial view of the surrounding area to give you kind of an idea of where we're talking about today. The parcel in question is outlined in white, and you can see that it's right there just south of the intersection of Schoolway and East Road on the right-hand side. It's just north, for clearance, it's just north of the Mendo Savings Bank. Here's a closer look for you here. You can see a little bit more of where it lies within the community of Redwood Valley. These maps here are the general plan land use designation and the zoning maps specifically to the area that we're talking about, the quote-unquote downtown area of Redwood Valley. As you can see, the entire surrounding area to the west, to the north, and to the south of this parcel are designated as commercial, both in the land use designation and on the zoning map, and they are utilized as commercial buildings. The parcel is Zone C2, and that is governed by Section 20.092 of the Mendocino County Code. And when we perform a plan check, this is the first reference that we have. We look through the zoning code to see what is allowed and what is not allowed by right or by use permit on a parcel. In this particular case, retail general sales, which is what the proposed use is allowed by right on a C2 general commercial parcel. No use permit is required, no discretionary action. It is ministerial, as is referred to. It also lays out the development standards for a parcel, and in particular, setbacks. These would be the setbacks from the property line, how far back structures and development are from the property line of the boundaries of this parcel. Section 20.092.045 designates the height limit of a building. And in this particular case, on commercial C2 property, the building must be less than 50 feet tall. There are also portions of the county code that apply to virtually every single parcel in the county. In this particular instance, Section 20.152.020, sorry for all the technical numbers, I just want to make sure it's as clear as possible. It establishes what's called a corridor preservation setback. This was established, I believe, at the request of the Department of Transportation. It sets a setback from the center line of any road for future improvements or possible widenings. This is in addition to any setbacks designated by a specific code, by a specific section, by a specific zoning. Chapter 20.180 establishes off-street parking standards. And in this case, it would be 0.02 of that section, and that is off-street parking in regards to commercial, retail, and services uses, which this falls under. Here's the plot plan for the Dollar General store that was submitted with their building permit. And this has the measurements. I know it's not the clearest picture, I'm sorry for that. It was not submitted with PDF, so this is just a scan. But you can see here we do have...
Can I ask
Yes.
that you use the laser pointer and point out
Certainly.
the key elements on this site?
Certainly.
Not everybody's familiar with reading these.
So if we take a look here, we have the actual footprint of the store itself. The actual property line goes out over here, and I'm not sure why it was cut off on this particular scan. Here's the street, East Road, here's the property line, and here's where parking begins. So we can see that the building itself is clearly back from the road. In this particular case, C2 requires a setback of 10 feet from the property line. East Road is considered a major collector and therefore has a corridor preservation setback of 35 feet. The building is well past the 45 feet required from the center line of East Road. Parking must also be set back from the property line, and as we can see here, the majority of the parking lot itself also lies well past the setback areas. In a commercial area, there is actually no setback to any part in the side or rear unless one of those parcels is not a commercial or industrial use. In this particular case, the property to the east is rural residential 1, in which case it must maintain a 20-foot setback from that property line. The proposed building, I believe, is 40 feet from the rear property line. It well cleared the required minimum standards of the zoning.
Can I ask you also to point out the other site improvements? I believe the stormwater retention areas.
The stormwater retention areas, this particular property does not fall within the MS4 district. It actually stops at East Road, and therefore they're not required to do anything beyond standard. However, you can see the open spaces here and over here as well. There is a rain catchment area, if I'm not mistaken, in this area right here. But again, this is about beyond the typical standards that we as planning would require.
Graham?
Yes.
Before you leave that,
Oh, sorry.
could you explain to us what it is between the parking lot and East Road that is an oval, that right
That there, I believe that is going to be a proposed storm catchment or rain catchment as well. And again, that's going to be something that the planning department doesn't particularly, we don't have anything in our code that pertains to that outside of the MS4 areas.
And I'll add that this similar feature exists on the north side of the building. You can see this similar kind of racetrack looking thing. That's also a catchment.
And that's what the bathtub looking.
Yeah.
Yes.
And is there any landscaping proposed in that plan? I can't see it if it is.
There are some trees proposed, I believe for back here and possibly over here as well. Landscaping would not be a requirement of the plan, however. Going back to the actual requirements, again, retail sales general is a use by right allowed in C2, and no further examination of that use is required or even permitted. And you know, if it's a use by right, it's a use by right. It's the same as a residential house is allowed on a residential use, a commercial building is allowed on a commercial lot. The corridor preservation setback, as mentioned, is 35 feet. In addition to the 10 feet, this property, this structure and parking both fit that development standard. And moving on forward, the side and rear setbacks, again, there are no side and rear setbacks except for in this particular case, the 20 feet from the rear, which it clears. Retail stores are required to provide one parking space for 300 square feet of gross floor area. The proposed building is 9,100 square feet, and they propose 30 parking spaces, which meets this requirement. As far as environmental review on a project as this, CEQA guidelines, and very specifically, section 15268B, state very clearly that in the absence of any discretionary provision contained in the local ordinance or other law establishing the requirements for permit, license, or other entitlements for use, the following actions shall be presumed to be ministerial. 1, the very first one, issuance of a building permit. CEQA guidelines also state that ministerial projects are exempt from the requirements of CEQA, and that is per section 15.268. Because retail sales general is a permitted use that requires no additional permitting on C2 zone parcels, no staff discretion is involved in the approval of this project, and by definition, a project that requires little to no personal judgment by the public official is considered ministerial, and therefore no CEQA action is required on a building permit such as this.
And I'll add to that, consequently, because the location, height, and parking was shown to be in compliance with the required use, the zoning clearance was granted. And in that situation, the building permit can be issued, provided other reviewing departments such as environmental health, transportation, there may be other entities, the water district, and any other responsible agency that is involved in the permitting of the establishment of a new use.
All right, well, thank you very much, Graham, very well organized. And would our council like to?
So Deputy County Counsel Matt Kudrowski, I do have some responses to some of the issues raised in the appeal letters. Just to start with, I've kind of broken it down into both looking at CEQA issues and looking at general plan issues. So to add to what Graham added or stated about the CEQA guidelines, the actual CEQA statute exempts ministerial projects as well. It's section 21080 of the Public Resources Code, which specifically provides that CEQA does not apply to a number of listed activities, the first of which is a ministerial project. Now that is where, as Graham pointed out, there is no discretion exercised by the local agency. The appellant has cited to the case of Day versus the City of Glendale as finding that even when a governmental approval involves virtually no discretion, including a review to see if building plans meet the conditions of a building code, CEQA review may be required if the approval is the only point at which the environmental impact may be publicly considered. It's cutting out. This case is distinguishable from the case right now. Day involved a grading permit related to construction of a state highway that would have sought the filling of canyons with over 1.5 million cubic yards of material and moving an additional 300,000 cubic yards after that. The primary issue
We can fix that one.
Yes. Let's see if this works. The primary issue is whether the city's guidelines, in that case, properly consider grading permits to be ministerial. The state CEQA guidelines only have 4 categories of things that are presumed ministerial, which include a building permit. In that case, the city added ministerial grading permits as to what's ministerial.
We want to see if we can fix the microphone. Yeah.
Hello. Is the mic on? All right. As the court saw that adding the grading permits to what's ministerial was impermissible. They did not want local agencies to have this ability to add to the state list of what is ministerial. So part of the case turned on something that we don't have in our code. We have a building permit, not a demolition permit. So secondarily, the court reviewed the city code at issue and found that there were many discretionary issues as part of that grading permit. Again, we don't have that case here. This was simply looking to see what this fit against the zoning code. So I think that case is distinguishable both on size and on other issues discussed in that case that were relevant to the court's decision. The appellant also refers to a Dollar General application in Joshua Tree, California. This is an unincorporated community in San Bernardino County. The applicant's attorney stated that on his belief, this was a very similar case to what we have here in the county, but which was just a building permit. And the citizens group did file a lawsuit against that permit, but what the problem that's distinguishable there is that was actually a conditional use permit for which a mitigated neg deck was prepared pursuant to CEQA. That's based on looking online. I found a website for the Joshua Tree Downtown Business Association that had posted that ruling in the PDF. And it very clearly states that it was a discretionary permit, which is, again, not what we have here. We have something that is completely allowed with no conditions under our zoning code. They also referred to CEQA sections regarding master EIRs, and that the county may not simply rely on the 2009 General Plan Update EIR. Just to note, we prepared that as a program EIR, not a master EIR. But regardless of whatever type it was prepared as, the county does not have the authority to require environmental review for a ministerial project. CEQA itself, as I began with, states ministerial projects are exempt. With the recent case of the Friends of Juan Albriones House versus City of Palo Alto, it involved a determination that a demolition permit was ministerial, and the court followed that up with saying, based on the determination, the city could not have violated CEQA by failing to prepare an EIR, citing the case law stating that if a project is exempt from CEQA under any stated exemption, no further review is necessary. And as kind of the last note, I think staff might go over this in more detail. The 2009 EIR, this is different, actually says that in section 2.1, it provides to the fullest extent possible an analysis of the potential environmental effects associated with implementation of the general plan update. This approach was adopted in order to provide a credible worst-case scenario of impacts resulting from general plan implementation. This review would necessarily assume that a commercially designated parcel would be developed with commercially designated land uses. The appellants also stated that the CEQA review is required due to the magnitude of the project and its effect on other businesses. The Joshua Tree decision refers to a CEQA case regarding Walmart's in Bakersfield, and that's most applicable to this issue of whether we have to evaluate the effect of new business in considering urban decay. That case involved the construction of 2 separate Walmart supercenters in the surrounding commercial area with about 1.1 million square feet of new retail within 3.6 miles of each other. The court in that case found that's significant because that much new commercial space in that market area could well cause urban decay with that much new development occurring at one time. The court also then began its review of prior CEQA cases, stating that CEQA is not a fair competition statutory scheme, and that economic and social effects are outside CEQA's purview. However, if forecasted economic or social effects could lead indirectly or directly to physical changes, CEQA does require disclosure. That being said, it reviewed the case of the Friends of City of Davis versus the City of Davis. That involved a new retail development that involved a Borders bookstore. The Friends of Davis sued, saying this bookstore might end up causing urban decay in downtown Davis because of other bookstores not being able to compete. The appellate court found that prior environmental review already encompassed retail use of the property, and the fact that new use would compete with existing uses did not require subsequent review. So on the CEQA issue, I believe that further review is not required, and in fact cannot be required by the county. For general plan policies, the appellant claims the project is inconsistent with our general plan. He cites to Ideal Boat, the case of Ideal Boat versus Alameda County, I believe, for the proposition that even if a project is consistent with zoning, it must still comply with the general plan. That case involved a discretionary permit for the expansion of a non-conforming use that was specifically not consistent with the uses allowed in that general plan. The voter amended general plan for the area contains specific language stating that no discretionary, administrative, or quasi-administrative action inconsistent with the ordinance could be granted, approved, or taken. The case does find that a proposed project must be compatible with the objectives, policies, general land uses, and programs specified in the plan. In the absence of an outright conflict, a local agency cannot approve a project that is incompatible with and would frustrate the goals and policies of the general plan. Note that Ideal Boat involves a discretionary permit for a development that would expand a use no longer consistent with the general plan. This is not the case right now. We have a commercial use in a commercially designated area. Another appellate case, Elijah Heights Residents Association versus City of Los Angeles. I apologize for all the cases, but I want to at least rebut what I can in terms of the letters to provide additional information. That case involved a challenge to the issuance for a building permit for an apartment complex. The complex was consistent with zoning, but a recently revised general plan required a lower density. Note that this is a specific incompatibility with the general plan. The general plan provided nothing above this level. It is not simply a use versus a use. The court reviewed the relevant statute regarding general plan and zoning consistency and found nothing there in that section or the statutory scheme that mandates that building permits be scrutinized for general plan consistency. And if absolute consistency were required, the court found there could be years of delay in order to bring about complete consistency between the general plan and the zoning code. And this is again for incompatibility on specific land uses in the case of Ideal Boat and on specific densities in the case of Los Angeles. Here we have a use specifically compatible with our commercial land use type. I think what planning staff may also be able to review is whether the plans and policies of the general plan reviewed or cited by the appellant truly are inconsistent with this development. There's a couple additional issues that were raised in a July 9th letter. He raised issues regarding water, and I think we have a staff person from environmental health here that can discuss the issue further if required. But in general, the county does not appear to have the authority to deny a well permit. In regards to lighting, the building plans do include internally lighted signs. This means that the lighting is within a plastic or some kind of cover on the front of the store. The county building code does provide for limits on externally lighted signs, where lighting is shown onto a sign, but does not provide restrictions for internally lighted signs. They also talk about the ability to limit alcohol sales. He provided a situation in the city of Vista in Southern California where they approved a condition saying that the Dollar General could not sell alcohol. That article also notes that the city of Vista has adopted regulations regarding these kinds of stores and providing the ability to requiring a special use permit, which is a discretionary action. Again, not what the county code allows for us in this situation. The appellant provided an executive summary regarding a health impact assessment that was done in our county regarding the number of alcohol retailers we have, and the recommendations talk about adopting regulations regarding requiring a conditional use permit. We have not yet done that. As a final comment, I'll look to one more case for a couple of just kind of overarching issues regarding our review of this application. A 2004 case in the town of Apple Valley involved the approval of a 1.2 million square foot distribution center pursuant to a conditional use permit and an EIR. Appellants claim noticing the project was deficient because the end user of the center, Walmart, was not identified. The court made several relevant statements. They all have citations too in the case. In deciding whether to approve a project, a public agency may not act in an arbitrary and capricious manner. Where certain uses are permitted, a city cannot arbitrarily exclude others who would employ a similar use. And a public agency may not engage in conduct based upon personal, group, or political animus without implicating constitutional concerns. That's my brief review of where we stand in terms of the issues raised by the appellant in legal context. If you have any questions, please let me know.
If I may, Madam Chair, just interject briefly. Mr. Grodowski raised the question about signage and such, and I just wanted to clarify that no signage is a part of this project. This zoning clearance was simply granted for the use and the location of the building. And a separate application would be coming forward for a sign permit. So that's not on the table today.
And that application and its proposals would have to meet the standards for any lighting standards that we have in our zoning code.
Signage standards,
Signage standards.
lighting related to the signage. And that too would be an administrative or ministerial decision.
Okay, any questions of Matt?
Yes, Matt, you cited numerous decisions, court decisions of other locations. I understand that Kelseyville was able to turn down a Dollar General. Do you have any information on that?
I did not have any information on that. I think we talked about the planning staff a while ago in terms of whether there was, again, a conditional use permit that was required. If it was simply a ministerial action, I don't know how they would be able to just deny it outright.
If there was a design review committee, would that have made any difference?
If the county had a design review ordinance that required review, then it would have to have guidelines for that buildings could either revise to adhere to or not be approved. So that could be something, but it wouldn't necessarily say you can't come here, you just have to adhere to certain guidelines.
Yeah, and if I may add to that, design review wouldn't be considering the appropriateness of the use, but rather the aesthetic or design components of the use. So the building would be allowed to be there, it's just what color, what materials, what scale would be up to a design review. And again, we don't have design review guidelines that we can apply here.
Which brings up another question, and probably, you probably already answered it, but do we have any, have you seen any plans for what the building is to look like? There were none posted up there, but, other than the plot plan, but the building structure itself or what it's to look like?
I believe we do have the elevations part of your packet, or in your PowerPoint.
No, the elevations are not included in that. I was not able to get those. They were submitted with the application.
And we got those online, I believe. We got that scan,
Yeah, I believe they were
Sent in an
forwarded
email.
over to you along with the maps.
but we don't have it here today.
I will strive to get that before, if not something we can show on the exhibit, we'll bring the plans here.
I had one question. I couldn't find my copy of it, but the prior general plan had the same general plan designation and zoning. There was no change. I don't remember a change in the updated general plan 2009. I believe it was the same.
And I can't affirm or deny that. I don't know if there was a land use change with the update in 2009.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
And if I may add on to that, excuse me, just to call attention to the general plan again, maybe this helps in response to your question. The general plan includes Redwood Valley specific policies and has a number of goals and corresponding policies and actions enumerated, and that chapter or subchapter of the general plan very clearly identifies that this core commercial area was to be retained and encouraged, and in that regard, if the former general plan did not have zoning or land use designations to support that, certainly it was considered, and the idea that this commercial hub or center would be reinforced and encouraged is expressed by the general plan.
okay, thank you. Then at this time, I think if the applicant is prepared, we will hear the applicant presentation.
The appellant.
I'm sorry, appellant, not the applicant until after.
Thank you and good morning. My name is Brian Momsen, and I represent the appellants Alex Chahada and Anthony Chahada, who own the Redwood Valley Market, which is a mom and pop grocery store directly across the street, across East Road from where this Dollar General store is proposed. I wanted to start with Kelseyville. One of the planning commissioners just brought that up. Just recently, the Kelseyville Planning Commission voted down a Dollar General store, and reading from a newspaper article, their reasons were, amongst others, history of poor community relations, negative effect on the town's character, and a detrimental impact on local businesses. These Dollar General stores are controversial in a lot of rural communities where they're trying to come into across this state. We've cited to Josh Ritchie, we can see something in our own backyard in Kelseyville. There's community resistance in rural communities, there's legal issues, there's public hearings, there's a process. In this county, we don't have that. The staff is recommending just to rubber stamp this project without any meaningful environmental review and without any meaningful public hearings. This is a foregone conclusion. We're appealing something that already has been issued, as opposed to a normal use permit case where this decision hasn't been made when the hearing takes place. And I'm submitting that it's not as black and white as the staff has presented, that what we have here is almost a cart before the horse problem. And what I'd really like to focus on is everything that the staff just informed you, that this use is a matter of right, that this is ministerial, there's nothing we can do. All of that is based on the presumption that there was adequate environmental review in a 2009 EIR that established this zoning, as far as I know. Maybe it existed beforehand, but the county, at least the staff report and everything I've seen, has relied upon this 2009 EIR as something that studied the impact of a business of this magnitude. You know, not a Subway or something smaller, but a very large business coming into Redwood Valley. And we've all been through Redwood Valley. There's 4 or 5 buildings in the downtown, including my client's store. And I have not seen any meaningful citation to that 2009 EIR to show where that study of this area took place. There's been some citations to generalized studies for the whole county and roads and water that I saw in an attorney letter for Dollar General that I just saw as I was in the audience there, because despite their attorney responding to my letter, they didn't copy me with their response. So I got someone else's copy and just read it about 5 minutes ago. And I noted the staff report didn't really respond to my letter in as much detail as county council did, and I would have appreciated the courtesy of a more detailed response before the hearing, not at the hearing. But that aside, the crux of the whole issue to me, and as a matter of law, is that this 2009 EIR did not study the impact of a business such as this large, with this much traffic, this much potential effects on the environment, including surrounding businesses, the neighborhood, for this area. It just didn't do it, and they can't cite to anything in there where it did. And you know, I am citing to this day versus the City of Glendale case, which I noticed the Dollar General's attorney kind of charged as being an old case. But I'd point out that the firm that wrote that letter wrote the CEQA guidebook that I used to where that case was cited. And it did involve a grading permit, but it is on point because just like the building permit here, the public entity was saying it's ministerial. There's no review needs to be needed. It's just a matter of whether the grading permits fit certain guidelines, just like here. If the setbacks are okay, if the height is okay, that's the only discretion we have. You know, that's what the city was saying there in regard to a grading permit, and they issued it. And the court was like, well, hey, wait a second. I mean, there's going to be a mile of canyon filled, and the key language in that case was if the grading permit issuance is the first and only point where an environmental impact can be considered, then this ministerial and discretionary distinction isn't controlling. I'll read from that case from the court. It says, the discretionary ministerial designation of a project is not necessarily determinative of its environmental impact. We do not believe the legislature intended to exclude from the ambit of CEQA any project involving, as here, the movement and fill of massive sections of earth. All parties agree that the grading project will have a significant effect on the environment. The issuance of the grading permit is the only point at which the environmental impact of the project may be publicly considered. So that's what I'm arguing here. This type of project in Redwood Valley was not considered in the 2009 EIR, and to say it was is disingenuous. CEQA provides for public participation, for environmental review of environmental impacts, not to find some loophole and slip something this big through with no review and no participation. And this is probably going to the Board of Supervisors and the court one way or the other. Erring on the side of environmental review and public participation is probably the best way to go, and for the applicant as well. And I'd like to address just a couple of other legal points. There's going to be plenty of people talking about why they don't want this or why they do. And my client, I would like to give him a chance to speak a little bit as well, and he's going to submit a petition. But I'm here to address really what the staff said and the legal issues. The Ideal Boat and Camper case I cited, that project was consistent with the zoning. It wasn't consistent with an updated general plan. This business had been there for years as outdoor storage business for boats and so forth, and wanted to expand, and their project fit the zoning, but the court held that they could not expand because even though the project fit the zoning, it was inconsistent with the general plan. I've cited in my letters, especially the first letter, to several aspects of the community-specific part of the general plan for Redwood Valley, which a project such as this is not consistent with, including a consistent architectural theme that was RV 3.2 and smart growth RV-1. The general plan trumps the zoning. So once again, you have discretion. You're not locked in. You have discretion to say this project does not comport with the general plan and needs review. There also are some impacts that could not have possibly been considered in 2009. And one of those would be this 4-year drought that we're going through. Just yesterday, we had Dennis Slota, who was the hydrologist for, I think, the Mendocino Water District, for 17 years, submit a letter saying that this project would benefit from a hydrological study showing what impacts these 2 wells are going to use will have on neighboring wells and the aquifer as a whole. It's my understanding that there's been no proof of water submitted to, or any study to even show that there is water, to the Environmental Health Department, or any hydrological study showing what impacts the water use might have on neighbors. I realize that isn't a permit that this body issues. However, it's an environmental impact and something that could be studied under CEQA. Again, something that couldn't possibly have been studied in 2009. I also cited several cases about what a county has to do when they're relying on a previous EIR, and one of those again was to make sure that there have been no impacts since that last study. And again, water would be one of the many things that in the last 4 or 5 years has become a huge issue and wasn't studied by that project. That wasn't adequately addressed either. I realize that you're supportive of your staff and they've presented a very detailed presentation, but you know, you're your own independent body. I've cited several ways that you have discretion in this case. Still good law that you can rely on to at least look at this. At this point, my clients aren't even saying this can't happen. They're saying we want public participation in environmental review, and that is not too much to ask for. Thank you. I'll answer any questions. Otherwise, I will turn it over to my client who wants to make a presentation as well.
Any questions, Jessica?
Yes, I have a question. You addressed the Kelseyville case. You mentioned the Kelseyville Planning Commission. To my knowledge, that is not an incorporated city, therefore I believe that's a county planning commission. Is that correct?
I think that's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you, and we'll give some
And
time.
I'd like to introduce Alex Chahada, who's going to speak next.
We're gonna hope that you can keep it to about 10 minutes. Is that possible?
No, not even 5 minutes.
Oh, great.
My name is Alex. I'm the owner of the Redwood Valley Market with my brother Anthony. We've been in Redwood Valley for 10 years. I started when I was 20 years old. We started really hard. We've been successful in this business. Took us a while to know what my customer wants, to support the local companies around us. We support like almost the 13 wineries in Redwood Valley, and cheeses, and I don't know, they submitted last time to the planning commissions, but at the board of supervisors. But we support the wine, we support the cheese, the honey, the bread. We do a lot of local stuff. It's really hard for us to have some other strangers, you know, come to the valley and don't care about locals, don't care about supporting those small companies. It's really hard for a stranger to come and take a piece of bread off of my kids' mouth. You know, it's really hard. That's why I'm fighting it. We've been working hard for the last 10 years to get it to this point, to support 20 employees, you know, and their families. My family, my brother's family. It's really hard for us, and really, I mean, I gotta fight it all the way to stop these guys. I'm not gonna talk about the Redwood Valley side, you know, keep it as a community, you know, but I'm talking about my points. You know, competition is really hard. These guys sells their product really cheap to get people out of business, and after we go out of business, they go high and raise their prices. It's all over the place. On the other hand, let's say for example, I stopped by one of their stores. They sell 12-pack of beer for $7. It cost us $8.20. I mean, how would I sell a 12-pack of beer $1.20 cheaper? I'm gonna go out of business if I'm gonna do like them. I could do it like them, but for how long? They can afford it. They have thousands of stores. But I cannot afford it. I am supporting myself and all my employees. It's really hard for me. When I first started this, people got to know it like, what, 10 days before or 20 days before, you know, they approved it. People start going crazy. Why don't you have a petition? Why don't we sign a petition? So we started it. I got 1,700 petitions. 1,700 people signed that petition. 1,700. You know, that's a lot of people. It's not like 2 or 3 people. Like, nobody wants it. And I gave them 1,000 last time, and I got 743 right now in my hand. It's not easy. I mean, people don't want it in Redwood Valley. I got a lot of loyal customers. I love them, and they love the store. And I bring every single thing that they want. Anything they ask for, I get. Will be this like Wednesday. I tell them Wednesday or Friday. It has to be there. I don't say no. Who Dollar General is gonna care about those customers if they want something? No. They go by what the book say, the Dollar General book say. Oh, send them this, Oreos, and this. That's all those 3 kind of cookies they have. They have Gallo wine, you know, those company, let's say Gallo, who sends the cheap wine, that section, small section. That's all they get. They don't care about what the customer wants. That's, you know, that's what they have. That's it. So we're there to support the local, and the local support us. You know, we're there for each other. I have a lot of loyal customers, and I hope if that happens, I keep those local customers and loyal customers. And we're gonna fight it all the way, and I hope you guys will help us to stop this. And thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll go on to the next part, which is if the,
Madam Chairman, a point of order, please.
I think we're going by our order.
I know, what
You will have a chance to speak later. But at this time, the applicant who took out the permit will have a chance to give us a presentation.
Good morning, Madam Chair, I'm Sabrina Teller of the law firm of Remy Moose Manley. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, which is Cross Development. I won't belabor all of the points made by very capably by your staff and your deputy county counsel, except to say that the appeal should be denied because it could not be clearer that the building permit is a ministerial approval to which CEQA does not apply, and the proposed store is perfectly consistent with the site's land use and zoning designations, which provide that this type of use is allowed by right. The staff report explains very well why the appeal has no merit on legal grounds or factual ones and should be denied, and we support the staff's recommendation to deny the appeal. Additionally, I have submitted our own response to the appeal, which I hope you've had a chance to review. Our response further explains why the building permit complies with the law and the county's applicable codes and planning policies. I would like to address a couple of points made by the appellant's attorney. He keeps referring to a business of this magnitude and comparing this to other projects in the cases he cites, which were significantly different and larger in scope than this project. And I think it's important for the commissioners to understand, from a factual perspective, exactly what kind of store we're talking about. It is a 9,000 square foot store, large perhaps by some measurements, but comparable in size to a modern Walgreens or Rite Aid. This is not a Walmart. This is not a Costco. This is not a Target. It is basically a small grocery store, a large convenience store, however you want to define it, but it is, this constant reference to a business of this magnitude and bigfooting the town, that is just not accurate. The appellants also complain that there's been no prior environmental review of putting this type of use in this location. And again, as already capably explained by your staff, that's not accurate. You most recently, the county collectively, adopted a general plan in 2009 that was supported by an environmental impact report under CEQA, which looked generally at the impacts of developing all of the designations in that general plan to full build out. It looked at a worst case scenario from that perspective. And so whether this site has long been designated for commercial or was more recently designated for commercial in 2009, it has been subject to CEQA review. And that review generally disclosed that there would be certain unavoidable impacts, not locally, but on the whole, relating to water supply and other issues. Once you have established that the project is in fact consistent with the zoning and the land use designation, commercial and C2, your county code establishes that this type of use, a food and beverage sales or general retail sales, is allowed by right. That means there is no discretion to deny a building permit that meets all of the fixed criteria and objective standards that your staff explained are things like the setbacks, building height, etc. Now I recognize, obviously, there is a great deal of strong feeling in the community about the store, but the county's interpretation and application of its fixed standards and objective requirements for a building permit are not influenced by subjective opinion. The nature of a ministerial approval of a use that is allowed by right is such that as long as the application meets those objective criteria, it must be approved. For those reasons, you should deny the appeal, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Also, a representative of the applicant, Cross Development, is here if you have any specific questions about the store. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions?
Yes, I do have a specific question, and maybe for the applicant. I wondered about water use and how much there would be.
I don't have the answer to that. I can clarify that there has been a well permit issued by the Environmental Health Department. But in terms of like gallons per day, I don't have that information. Perhaps the applicant does. Thank you.
I have a question.
Sorry.
Yes. So based on county council's presentation, it appears as though that you have the right to this building permit. The question I would have is, in the face of such significant community opposition, why would a company build there? Obviously the community doesn't want it. What would drive the company to pursue the store?
I presume that they have looked at market conditions and see an opportunity that is, or a market that is not being fulfilled yet, according to demand. Now, you know, we've heard about the loyalty of the existing market's customers, and perhaps they will stay loyal to that store and Dollar General will not thrive, in which case another economic decision would be made. But that is not those kinds of considerations are not what go into a decision about whether to issue a
Right,
building
I
permit or
agree,
not.
and I think county council pointed out that the competition portion, CEQA is not set up to decide between competitors as to who occupies the market space, but I'm sure Dollar General did an analysis of the potential market in terms of sales from this store, and it just appears to me on the surface that because of the level of opposition, that they might want to revisit that analysis as to what the potential market would be, or what the potential sales level would be within the store. I understand. I think I would understand that, you know, you come into a marketplace, you identify a potential market, you apply for the permit, you think you're going to go ahead, but at some point, you know, you might take a step back and say, well, you know, maybe this isn't the economic opportunity that we thought it was in the initial analysis. Just an observation on my part.
I appreciate that. I'm not in their marketing and economic department, so I couldn't speak to it. Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, I think we should acknowledge our correspondence and any phone calls, if someone's prepared to do that.
Yes, you have in your packet a number of letters, and then also that were received as of the end of the day Monday, and then additional letters have been received. We ask that staff respond to the comments raised by those letters until after the public testimony has been offered or given, and we'll be able to answer all the questions at the same time.
All right, very good. Then I think we're ready to go to the public and
Staff.
yes.
Molly, was the applicant going to address this at all, or?
Speak
would that
up,
be a
please.
comment?
From Croft, would you like to? Yes?
I can, yes.
Okay, please do, if it's kind of brief.
Sure, I'll be very brief. As Sabrina said, I'm Joe Dell with Cross Development. We're the applicant for the store here. I kind of want to just real briefly, Dollar General's a client, they're a tenant. My company will actually own the building, own the property. We will lease it to Dollar General. I feel like personally the store, so answer some specific questions. One water well has been applied for, not two. I'm not sure where that number came from. It's been approved. Water usage specifically is less than a single family household. It has 2 bathrooms and a water fountain that serve basically the customers of the store. An exact gallon per day, I've seen somewhere around 200 gallons a day, 250. It's nominal. It's going to fluctuate with the traffic of the store. But again, as Sabrina said, I'm here to answer any questions you guys may have. I know that was a specific question for water usage, so I wanted to answer that. But so yes, but I do support the county staff recommendation to deny the appeal.
Thank you.
Yes, I do have one other question. The attorney mentioned that in response to Commissioner
Smith.
the question about the what if Dollar General did fail and the community did not support it, and since you are the developer, you are left with the building. What is your response to what you would do with that building if Dollar General did fail?
Well, I would tell you the building represents a significant investment on our part to own the property, to build it, construct it. The building would be put up for lease for another tenant, whether it be local or non-local. It's hard to say what that would do. I can't speak to whether or not Dollar General will be successful. I can tell you from past stores we've done in Lake County, Kelseyville is one of our stores. It was denied at Planning Commission. It was very different from this process. It required planning review through a conditional use permit, very specific design guidelines that were involved. So that is a separate issue, but Nice and Clear Lake Oaks are two stores that were just recently opened within the past 6 months. And the actual local communities are thriving from those stores. Dollar General is very specific, as the appellant stated, carries very specific merchandise. So it shouldn't impact his loyal customers who go for those very niche items such as local wines, cheeses, and everything. It actually should bring more people into the community who shop for the basics, and then would improve traffic into his store, which could actually increase his revenue. That's what we're seeing in Nice and Clear Lake Oaks. The local merchants are experiencing good returns for Dollar General being in their community. I know we saw site design. I know you didn't see a full building permit set. We are, of course, looking at the actual impacts of runoff, and that's why our runoff is net zero. Zero runoff will be produced. The store will all be maintained in our detention basins as well. And there is a landscape plan as well, and it's a pretty detailed landscape plan. There's bushes and trees all along the street frontage that's kind of screen the parking lot. And it's in the plan set, I believe, that county has if you guys wanted to review it, because I know that came up as well. So I'm trying to hit some of the basic points I've heard come up in that were questions that were asked. So
Are those oblong circles in the catch basins?
yes, all the oblong circles are catch basins for water runoff. The one to the north is specifically for the roof gutters. For all roof runoff will be caught in that basin. The front basin on East Road is for some parking lot runoff, and then the south basin along the south property line is for the additional runoff as well. And they are sized appropriately for the amount of water that will be produced in a rainstorm. The water well is on this site plan as well, and again, it's one water well, not two. I'm not sure where the two number came from, but just to clarify it, it's one water well.
Was that an existing one, or?
No, this is a new well that's been permitted by environmental health.
Because I thought I understood there was an existing well.
There's an existing well. If you look at the full survey, which I'm not sure county has, there's an existing well that's not on the property. Maybe the thought was it is on the property, but it is not on the property. But it isn't. There's an existing well, but it services another piece of property, not this one.
And your well has been drilled already?
It has not been drilled yet, no, but it's been permitted and approved. We won't drill the well until we get through the whole process of getting out there and begin construction. Any other questions or?
I think not. Thank you very much.
Well, just one.
Sure.
This is again on the attorney's letter, the other attorney's letter. He commented in there that the dollar store would be far better suited the south end of Ukiah, for example. I wondered if you had, or perhaps you don't know, if they had looked into that area.
I don't know everywhere Dollar General's looking to develop. I'm one developer that have them as a client, so I don't know if they're looking at South Ukiah or not. Dollar General typically develops in rural communities. Ukiah is what I would consider more urban, more metropolitan community. It's a larger population. I'm not sure how large it is, but I know they have areas of commercial development there that have, Safeways and other types of national tenants as well. So to answer your question specifically, no, I don't know if they're looking there. I can tell you that our company is not looking in Ukiah, but again, we're one developer, so that does work for Dollar General.
Thank you.
You may be one of the first persons that referred to Ukiah as metropolitan.
Well, I'm from an extremely small town, so it's to me it's urban feel. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And now, I think we are ready to go to the public input.
Could I ask just a simple
And-
question before we go to that?
No, I'm going to just say that I do have a request, a speaker form from somebody who I think had to leave early named Leo Blyer. So we'll start with you, and then if the other gentleman would like to speak next, we'll allow that, if you'll come to the podium.
Thank you. My name is Leo Blyer. I'm sorry I do have to leave. I have to go to the Bay Area. I think it's obvious that Dollar General, the company, has not actually looked at Redwood Valley. And I appreciate what you said, Mr. Little, about what happens if they fail. I'm also concerned about the well situation. I'm not sure where they're going to drill. I am the owner of the shopping center area across the way. And for 40 years, I operated the grocery store. My dad operated that before. I'm concerned about the water level that might happen to our well because we serve 4 retail businesses, the post office, and 2 residential areas. And there's a reason why the Redwood Valley Water District placed a moratorium on hookups over the past 20 years. We have no water. You can ask the residents whose wells run dry in August every year, and we don't want that to happen. I know I'm prejudiced. I just don't feel that this is a fit for what we, the local residents in our community, expect to be built. I worked hard over, like I say, the 40 years. We tried to develop a community-based business. My father expanded the store in the 1960s. I expanded again in the 1980s. And the gentlemen that own the store right now have already expanded their meat department 3 times. And as you have heard, have spent a lot of time and effort in developing organic sections and offering a large selection of our local products. In other words, they're striving to meet the local needs of the community. Dollar General, first of all, I don't think will be a good fit structurally for our community. It's fairly large. It's almost the size of the shopping center. This is a rural area. I don't believe that they communicate with their customers, and I think that this is a cookie-cutter operation and won't see community input on what they have. I guess all I can say, I see my time is running out, is that if the construction does take place, that the local residents will take a page from the people who live in the Forks area. When a business opened up that clearly stated they planned to drive the local market out of business, customers remained loyal to the Forks Ranch market to the extent that the owner of the new business has had to put that business up for sale. I think the problem is that if they fail, we'll still have that structure in Redwood Valley. Thank you so much for your time.
And thank you.
Any questions? No.
If so, we'll ask at the end, but you may not.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, the gentleman in the front row may speak, and we're going to follow him with Sabrina Teller.
I really don't want to go out of order. The question that I had that has nothing to...
Would you identify yourself?
My name is Rick Radcliffe. I'm a resident of Redwood Valley. What I was curious about is what I watched here today is I watched the Dollar General make a presentation for why we should have this, and I've seen the county make a presentation for why we have this. The county is a public entity. Why did they not do equally due diligence to give you the reasons why you can deny this as they did for why they can't deny this? That's my question is, what, I'd love to see county, great lawyer, sharp people. Let's see them make a case for not for giving you the opportunity to deny this. And I don't want to cut in front of everybody else. I just wanted that question to be asked. And you could probably ask your staff to do something like that for you. Thank you.
Well, we'll get to that at the end. Okay, Sabrina Teller, please. Oh, that was you. Yeah, thanks. We'll have Joe Dell. No, that's Joe there. We'll have Mary Snyder. Is Mary Snyder here? And she'll be followed by Christine Boyd.
name is Mary Snyder. I am the owner of the property, and I submitted to you a letter with a copy of the letter that was in the newspaper. I'm assuming you've all read it. I won't keep you and take your time with more comments from that. I just want to say that I do support the staff recommendation, and I want to say that that property, I've owned that property since 1978. It's been zoned commercial as long as I've owned it. I don't know what it was zoned prior to my ownership. It lies between I have 3 acres between the savings bank and the fire station. It's 2 parcels. All of it was zoned commercial years ago. The savings bank put their property, they built a bank out there. I don't think anybody had a discussion about getting an environmental review for that because it was zoned commercial. This shouldn't be any different. This building is not going to be, it's going to be 100 square feet larger than one of the buildings that's already on my commercial property. So, obviously, I get emotional, as all the other people do. Mr. Blyer owns the store where the Redwood Valley Market is, so obviously he is in support of the appeal. I just want to ask if you have any questions. When I bought the property, it was owned by, had been owned by Jim Jones. I have done a great deal for Redwood Valley in updating all of that property. We took a very big eyesore that was not on the tax rolls, put it on the tax rolls, and it's a viable commercial property and part of the shopping center. So I do support the staff recommendation. Do you have any questions of me?
Not at this time, thank you. And Christine Boyd, and followed by Sonia Piel.
Good morning, my name is Christine Boyd. I'm a resident of Redwood Valley. About 8 years ago, my husband and I took most of our life savings and we purchased a home in the country in Redwood Valley and left the suburbia and urban development behind us very, very happily. We're delighted to be in the rural community. And listening to all of this talk here today, there have been a lot of attorneys and a lot of very good professional people who know what they're doing. And I keep hearing these words that go something like this: there is no discretion to deny. You have no discretion. This is a use by right. Well, I have some rights too. I'm a property owner in Redwood Valley. My community is rural. It is designated in the general plan to be a rural community. Since when does a corporate junk shop become a use that's appropriate for a rural community? This doesn't fit to me. I don't understand. I don't understand all of your processes. I don't understand all the legalities, but there's something wrong here. If those of us who live and work in Redwood Valley don't have the final say in what we have to live with in Redwood Valley. That's basically all I have to say for right now. I'm sure everybody else will have a lot better things to say, but I thank you for your time, and I hope you will listen to the attorney, Mr. Momsen, and what he says insofar as your discretion, your real discretion as to CEQA and other requirements that you've spoken of, and I thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. And Sonia will be followed by Charles Vaughn.
Good morning and thank you for your time. I've been a resident in Redwood Valley for 21 years. I live up on Road B. I am currently under water restrictions. My family gets 200 gallons a day. That's my family, my horses, my chickens, my dogs, my cats. I don't have a garden anymore because there's no water. Redwood Valley has a moratorium on water. If Dollar General sinks a well and their straw goes deeper than everybody else's is going to lose their water. Oh, good for them. Another issue, I am a school bus driver for Ukiah Unified, and I have been driving in Redwood Valley for the last 12 years. I go up and down East Road, and I can tell you there are multiple families right now with multiple numbers of children, and it's hard right now for me to get traffic to stop with no new traffic and parking structures. It's hard right now already. I have people fly through my red lights all the time because there's traffic and they don't want to stop. That's a danger, that's a hazard. Also too, I'm a founding member of the Redwood Valley Farmers Market. I was a produce grower for 2 years. I'm still on the board of directors. Redwood Valley Community Market supports our market. They support our store. They fund the Fireman's Barbecue. Do you think Dollar General is going to do this? Not at all. They don't care. It's a bad fit for our community. It's going to be ugly. And also too, they're going to do pavement. We have dirt downtown Redwood Valley. We have people drive tractors. People ride their horses to the bar. What do we need a big parking lot for? And the savings bank, yes, nobody fought the savings banks. Well, we need a bank downtown. We don't need a Dollar General. And one of the reasons that Kelseyville is denying them is they are selling alcohol across the street from the high school. It's 1,000 feet from the high school. Great, we have a school a mile away. The middle school, they're gonna sell alcohol? Redwood Valley already has 7 places to buy alcohol. Do we need another one that undercuts all the rest of them? So we have candy, cigarettes, and alcohol. Oh, that's really good for our community. When Redwood Valley Market supplies real food, water, eggs, cheese, everything that people need to eat besides candy and cigarettes and alcohol. I mean, they have that too, but they have real food. It's a bad fit. It's gonna be ugly and it's a bad fit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charles Vaughn, who will be followed by somebody who didn't put a name but lives on Road E, 2791 Road E.
Mary Beth Kelly, sorry.
Mary Beth. Okay, please go
Good
ahead.
day. My name is Charlie Vaughn. I'm a resident of Redwood Valley, a landscaper here in the county. I'm also a member of the Redwood Valley Grange. I was a co-author with Gina Covina, the president of the Redwood Valley Grange, on the letter that was sent to the Planning Commission. If this permit, if this whole Dollar General thing is approved, you're going to be approving an empty shell in downtown Redwood Valley that's going to have to be turned over to somebody else eventually because the public is not going to support it. As we heard, there were 1,700 signatures on that petition gathered in a matter of weeks, less than 6 weeks. The approximate population of Redwood Valley is 1,800 people. I think we are talking about more than a majority. The people will not support that store. It is incompatible with our lifestyle, with what we want, with the sort of goods that we shop for. If we want those kind of goods, we'll go into Ukiah. We'll go to Santa Rosa. We heard some talk about smart economic growth in the revised general plan. As previously stated, by my count, we have 5 retail operations selling alcohol in just a matter of a few miles in Redwood Valley. Why do we want another outfit who is selling alcohol at cost just to attract customers into the store? We'll also be adding bright lights, we'll be adding delivery traffic, we'll be adding basically urban blight. I recommend, and the Redwood Valley Grange recommends, that there is an environmental statement done on this, and looking at water use, which is more than 200 gallons a day or something that I heard. You also have to clean a large store like that. It's going to use a lot more water than that. People are restricted to 50 gallons a day per person presently in Redwood Valley. That's not a good idea to add something where people are, and if they don't get water in their well, then what's going to happen? We're also looking at a company that is practicing race to the bottom pay scale. They offer the lowest wages the industry will possibly allow to checkers. Assistant managers start at $7.35 an hour. These are non-living wages. These are what people all across the country are now protesting and calling for a change to, and I don't really think it's smart to invite a company that is paying the absolute minimum to people into Redwood Valley. In order for people to work under these wages, you have to have food stamps and other government subsidies, which means basically we are subsidizing their low prices with our taxes. Not really a good idea.
Can you come to the end?
I
of
can
your
wrap
comments?
up really
Great.
quick here. The Grange and I recommend that you listen to the public. This is the voting base of Redwood Valley. Just because something is possibly legal doesn't mean it's right or appropriate. So I recommend that you accept the appeal and deny the permit. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Mary Beth Kelly? You know, it will help us if we have a little quiet in the audience. We can move along a little faster. Thanks.
Hi, my name's Mary Beth Kelly. I've lived 23 years in Redwood Valley as a homeowner, a parent, small-time rancher, Eagle Peak middle school science teacher, and recently I'm a member of the Grange. I moved here from the Sacramento area, and I watched a really sad thing happen in Sacramento. Every weekend it seemed like a new strip mall would go up. And it was sad. You just watched as the small family farms and the rural character of the outlying communities of Sacramento go under and be turned into strip malls. And I kept thinking, you know, it's really sad. What about all the stories, the history, the heritage of those places? That's being lost, disappearing. And I wonder what rich stories Dollar General will add to our heritage. Hopefully it's last stories. Another point I had has to do with something called the Redwood Valley Community Action Plan. I did not give you a copy of it. It's on the county website. It was a combined effort of the county and the citizens and business owners of Redwood Valley got together and put out a plan, what they envisioned for our community. And I went through that plan item by item, and I asked myself, how does Dollar General or a store like Dollar General serve those desires of the community? One of the big ones, I'll say, was to maintain the rural character of the valley and not turn it into a city. That was kind of the overarching principle that the residents and business owners spoke up about, and Dollar General will not do that. It'll turn it into what I saw happen in the Bay Area and in the Sacramento area. Let's see. Lake County, I just wanted to answer a question you had about why Dollar General has not considered going close to Walmart. In all my research about Dollar General, what they do is that would be too close to go down to the Airport Boulevard place. They like to put their stores 10 to 15 miles away from a Walmart to draw the customers that would normally get in their car and go to a Walmart. Now they can just go in their hometown, because it is in effect a mini Walmart. And so that wouldn't work for their marketing plan. They need the rural areas. Lake County had 5 planned, 5 in one county alone. 2 have gone in, Clear Lake, Oaks, and Nice. And Kelseyville's been in appeal right now. Middletown's right behind them. Cobb was denied for environmental reasons. 5 is a bit much. You look at a map of the United States and it looks like the United States has cancer, and it's spreading up right now the I-5 corridor and heading up to Northwest California and the states beyond. We don't need that kind of growth. We don't need that kind of growth in our county. Lastly, I wanted to say I am the author of the flyer that you all got a copy of, that Pete Brown responded to in the Ukiah Daily Journal editor, and that Mary Snyder referred to in her letter. And all those are facts that I got from my research. So I use the term "we" on that very liberally. We, the members of Redwood Valley, don't want this. And I say, if the shoe fits, wear it. That's what I meant. I was handing them out at the Redwood Valley Parade. So that's what I've got to say. I just would ask that you have the choice to affect our little town's future. Please listen to our residents. Thank you.
Mary Beth, could you give us the date of that community action plan that you
2004. 2004, it was put together by 106 residents and business owners and the county. It was provided by a grant, and I was amazed when I saw this. We put a lot of effort, I was teaching, but a lot of effort by the community and the county went into this plan. And no, maybe the general plan doesn't support us, but heck, we do have our community plan, and the county did support it. So I really, would urge you to take a look at that. I was amazed when I found it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now Virginia Reynolds, and she will be followed by Ellen Faulkner.
Good morning. My name's Virginia Reynolds. I have been a resident of Redwood Valley for 40 years. I moved here 40 years ago in 1975 to bring some very wonderful and productive businesses to Redwood Valley. We have not had to create any rural blight. Our community has been building for the whole 40 years that I've been here and many years before, and we're a very tight community. We support each other. I have 3 businesses right now that are very productive. We have Down to Earth Landscaping. I have a therapy business, and we also have a farm, and it's a teaching farm. So I come here as a person who's been involved in our community. I'm with Leadership Mendocino. I have been a community builder. I've worked here for public health. I've been a community health outreach worker for 36 years. I would like to have this planning commission really think about our area and what is happening here in our area. We have a casino right up on the 101 in Redwood Valley. I would just like for you all to consider what Dollar General will bring to our little town of Redwood Valley with cheap alcohol. We will have transients and people coming through right down into our valley to get that cheap alcohol from the casino. I know that for a fact because I have been an outreach worker who has sat in the parking lot of that casino and watched the behavior that's gone on. And what happens is many people go and get alcohol from other places in the community, Walmart, Rayleigh's, Safeway, and they bring it there and they have it right there in the parking lot. And what happens, I can see, I'm really concerned for the youth of our community for that reason. I hear these things like, Mendocino Savings Bank came in and it was okay. Of course, Mendocino Savings Bank is a local business, and they have supported us all in our businesses and our lifestyle. So yes, we welcome that. I look at Dollar General and I say, I never heard of them until 1 week after it had been approved. I am just appalled that this has happened. And I ask all of you as community development, this is what it's about. It's about our community. And I ask you to please consider what Dollar General would be. We have such an intelligent community that we have all realized that there's a very good chance that if this goes through, we're going to end up with an empty building. And we've already started thinking how we can create in that empty building a possible community store, something we really need. We are not stupid, and we will be protesting this all the way.
Thank you. And now Ellen Faulkner, and who will be followed by Carol Soinella.
I'm Ellen Faulkner. I've owned land in Redwood Valley since 1981, and I had the great good fortune to be able to move onto this land in 1988. At just about the time that the Redwood Valley store became a store. And so I've been a loyal customer of Redwood Valley store for at least 30 years, and I just can't believe that something would be a huge corporate structure put there by corporate rule that just wipes out all your possibilities of stopping it, I don't think this should happen. Not to Redwood Valley and not in this county. And it is increasingly happening. And I think we have to get more and more resistant about it. And I'm looking to you to help us to resist this kind of corporate takeover of tiny little places like Redwood Valley. We have a tiny little downtown because that's what we want. We want that store. We want the Redwood Valley store the way we have it now. It's improved every year since I've lived there. Right now, it's just got the topmost butcher shop you can imagine. It's probably the best butcher shop. We have real meat cutters that do their real meat there, and we have real food. We have local food. They feature local vegetables along with the farmers market. They feature organic food that we've wanted. They get everything that we want, and we are so happy with that store. Why would we want another one? We don't. And also, there's a tremendous amount of resistance in Redwood Valley to this kind of what I would call dumb growth rather than smart growth. And there's an enormous amount of resistance, and we're not going for it. And we'll fight it every inch of the way, and we'd like you very much to help us. I know that the government, the county government and the Planning Commission has an issue with ministerial impotence, shall we say, but I think you can overcome that if you really want to. And if you don't, we're going to fight it all the way. Let me tell you, we'll be picketing, we'll be demonstrating, we won't even let the construction go through if we can avoid it. Thank you.
And Carol? Is Carol here? Yes, she is. Hi, I am Carol Sonula. As a property owner and business owner, our business has been established 65 years ago in Redwood Valley, who has raised my children here, and my family has been here for over 100 years. I am saddened. Dollar General in Redwood Valley frightens me. Unfortunately, Redwood Valley was not protected in our general plan. Ukiah is protected, but not Redwood Valley. We were preyed upon by a big corporation that was allowed to sail through. There was no voice from the community who lives here, works here, buys homes, cars, food, clothes, pays taxes. I don't understand how the application for Dollar General could be submitted to the Planning and Building Services on February 24th, 2015, and our supervisor didn't hear about it until June 2015 from me. She knew nothing about it. Why was this not discussed with the representative of our district? Why did she not know about it? In fact, the development company was in the county offices gathering info since August 2014. No one felt the need to discuss this with the district supervisors. I have to get some breath here. Okay, why is there no communication among our officials? You know, why as a group are you not looking out for the better of our county? This is a 9,100 square foot building from out of state, and no one said a word about it. Just sign it off. Where is the teamwork? Where is the protection from our county? My first request to you is that this problem is corrected immediately and this never happens again. Funny, I was at the general plan meetings in 2004. I do not remember anything being discussed about protecting our community in regards to a chain ordinance. I remember being put on groups to discuss a farmer's market, road signs, welcome to Redwood Valley sign, but nothing was presented to people about how Ukiah was protected, but not Redwood Valley. Nothing. Nothing about the true meaning of the zoning and what could happen. No one had any idea about how the zoning affected our community. Nothing was explained how it all worked, and it should have been. It should have been explained, and it wasn't. There's a reason it wasn't. We all, will all you who live in Redwood Valley raise your hand? Well, I see it will not affect you guys on a daily basis. You won't see that ugly building every day, that huge bright yellow signs, traffic, big trucks. What about crosswalks, sidewalks, which we have none now? We have problems in Ukiah with children and pedestrians getting hit in the crosswalks. With added new traffic, it will be like two major intersections, only a few cars apart. We have the horse arena there, children riding their horses every day. We got blindsided, Sunday punched, whatever you want to call it. We will be reviewing our general plan and work with our supervisor to figure a way to correct this problem. We need to start the process immediately so that this doesn't happen again. We didn't see it coming, and that's how it was planned. There are huge problems with the well. Our business is also on the well, and they're gonna be right on our vein. Roads, drainage, signs. I have to catch my breath again.
Actually, Carol, you've gone over the 3 minutes, and if there's
It's
one
been
more
great.
thing you'd like to say.
Yes.
One more.
Okay. The only way I look at this is that we left our doors unlocked. We left them wide open. We got robbed, and I feel violated. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to help us? I feel we are all in this together. You are officials, and we the community. There should be no blame on how this could have happened to us. Now is the time for all of us to work together, put all the cards on the table. And my second request is to please approve the appeal and have the SECA reviews begin. Please don't leave us sitting here feeling unprotected by our officials. This is our county and our community. Thank you.
Carney Sheldon is next, followed by, there's not a name, but somebody from Lazy Row Cattle Company.
Oh, that's me.
Okay.
Good morning, my name is Tarney Sheldon, and I'm here as a mom. I work 40 hours a week. I've taken vacation time from my work to be here today, and I'm also in summer vacation, so I'm paying for childcare in the interim. I have a 9-year-old, actually she just turned 10, a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. They go this fall, they'll both be going to Eagle Peak Middle School, and we've been going to Cowpell and Eagle Peak for the past 8 years. I was born and raised in this county, went away for college, started a family in the Sacramento area, and for the same reasons as some of the other speakers, saw the urban sprawl and decided to come back to my roots. Chose Redwood Valley because it's beautiful and rural like I wanted to raise my kids in. So every time I drive through Lake County and see the new Dollar Generals, it makes me really sick. I think it's blight there, and I'm sorry for them that they're having to deal with that. And I certainly, as a college-educated, hardworking, upstanding citizen, would not want to live in a community with one of them. It would be something that would make me want to move, and I would be sad because I think my property value would be lower, and it would be hard for me to move. I'm also somebody who, in my 40 hours a week, I work doing public health. I'm a concerned mom for my own kids' health, and I'm also concerned for community health. Selling cheap candy and cheap alcohol and cheap cigarettes is not appropriate for community health. So that's what I was originally planning to say to all of you and to appeal to you. I have heard all the, our county staff and their opinions about the legality of things and how the process works, and I honor that that's what they have to do. I'm sorry that my tax dollars, though, are going to support something that, I know that they're just trying to say the legalities of what has to happen perhaps in this situation, but I'm sorry that my tax dollars had to support that process. I wish that they could have looked into other options for us as members of Mendocino County. And my ask for you is, at the end of this comment session for myself, is that I recommend that you ask yourselves if you have to abide by what the lawyers have said on the other side and on our own side, which I consider Mendocino County. I was hoping it was our own side. If you have to follow what they say. I recommend, though, that there are things that you can do to make the process really, really uncomfortable for a developer from Texas and wherever they're from. And that others, if you want to look at how other counties have done that, I've heard through the grapevine that American Canyon, which is a town near Napa, has been very successful in being very obstructionist to some of the people who've come in, and that there's ways of doing that legally. I don't know them myself, but I would encourage you guys to look into that if your hands are tied in other legal ways. Thank you.
Thank you. And do you have something new to say?
No, yes, I do.
Okay.
That was only a question.
All right.
Yeah, I wanted to put some facts along
And
with.
would you give me your name again?
My name is Rick Radcliffe. I live in Redwood Valley, 2600 Road B. Some facts. What you guys are hearing here is the real general plan. These are the people that live there. They're talking about their general plan. Here, Dollar General didn't meet Wall Street's expectations. They had a $8.5 million impact on their gross profit in the fourth quarter because of the lockout of the longshoremen at the ports. Gee whiz, I wonder where those products probably aren't coming from anywhere in the country. They're coming from overseas. Dollar General, this is when the new management took over. This was actually in 2009. Dollar General will open 300 new locations to improve profitability, and they're going to close 300 locations. And they haven't decided, they haven't specified which stores will close. Now this is from their SEC filing, where this is what they're trying to get people to look at the positive parts of investing in their company. Is it the FCC? There's 60 more stores that are gonna close this year. That's from 2015. They have OSHA violations, $80,000 fine, $83,000 fine, $122,000 fine. Again and again, our inspectors found similar hazards at the Dollar General stores, and yet the company continues to put its employees at risk. This is just Googling Dollar General. Dollar General had a class action lawsuit that they had to settle, that was for violating people's rights when they did background checks. Dollar General has about 95,000 stores, and there will be about, what this is I took my notes real quick this morning. It averages 8 employees per store by the number of employees they have, and the number of, it was 12,000 stores, that's what it is. So 12,000 stores, 95,000 employees, that's 8 people per store. Well, what about all the corporate offices and all of that? It's down to their prospectus says that they like to have 1 manager, 1 assistant manager, and 2 employees. Now this is out of their FCC filings. The fact that we have substantial debt could adversely affect our ability to raise additional capital and limit our ability to service our outstanding debt securities. God, I get so nervous about it. I'm running out of time. Any breach of these covenants would cost them to be inaccurate. Now the lawyer came up and said that they're not Walmart, but it says right in their thing that says about who they compete against is exactly the same entities that their lawyer said that they don't compete against. I want to read that one because I have it here. Our plan for future growth could be impeded if the sales don't stay active in their current stores. And I just want to get this last one on the record accurately. We are dependent upon smooth functioning of our distribution network. That's all they are, is a distribution network for Chinese products. And they directly compete with Walmart, Target, Dollar General, Family Dollar, and I can't find it, so I'm gonna. But you know, I think what I said earlier is, I think you should at least, if you do not, you decide to deny this application, have your staff, sharp people, prepare the same sort of presentation for why you can deny it as they did for why we shouldn't have to fight with Dollar General and the county, because we are the county. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is Jane Allison Mascariello?
Well, it's J. Allison.
J.
There's
J.
no N.
There we go. Sorry. And after J will be Sheila Rogers.
So people have said, I'm J. Allison Mascarello, hope you can hear me. People have said a lot of the points that I would say. I'm a Grange member, I'm a radio talk show host for the Farm and Garden Show, I'm a citizen of Redwood Valley, I'm a farmer, and I'm an artist. And we love our town the way it is. We want sustainability and local efforts. This does not contribute to any of that. I have a great idea for the Dollar General building when it's vacant, and that is the expansion of our wonderful Redwood Valley market. Because I think that's what draws good people. You're going to get drunks, you're going to get people that need more county services by putting in a Dollar General. Cheap alcohol, cheap candy. This is not how you build a strong, healthy country. And if this county stands for health and good citizens, this is not a move to make to have Dollar General in our county. Savings banks don't sell cheap liquor and poor quality food. That's why we like Mendocino County. And besides the fact that Mendocino Savings Bank is a county bank, as Ginny mentioned. Dollar General contributes to nutritional food deserts. And when they say they sell basics to the people, define basics. Is it imported, cheap, GMO-laden food? How can you plan for our community without our community's input? What is the environmental impact on our community? What is our impact upon existing businesses? It's not sustainable, nor is it local. Key elements are only money plus data can get you a permit. Murderers can obtain permits. By having Dollar General, you're murdering the heart and soul of Redwood Valley. Cheap imported goods, we're fighting against that. Use of cheap alcohol to solicit business. This is not in anybody's good interest. Where is the community factored into the equation of planning and building in our community? Thank you.
Thank you. And back to notes. And so Sheila Rogers will be followed by somebody without a name written, but from Floodgate Farm.
Bill Taylor.
Bill Taylor, you'll be next then.
Good morning, thank you. I live in the Redwood Valley on purpose because it reflects a rural character that I so love. I shop at the Redwood Valley Market because it sells locally produced goods, as already been stated. I worked in economic development for more than 30 years in this county. I've also owned the property that I live on for 43 years. I have total confidence that locally owned businesses are our best economic development strategy, especially in rural areas like Redwood Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. And Bill will be followed by Dorothea Dorman.
Heard a lot of good points today. You know, who knows? Maybe if this store were built, maybe some poor folk will come, some low-income folk will come, and the store will thrive. If then the community fails, it's a failure for the community. If the store fails, it's a blight, it's a lot of wasted effort. I'm a newcomer. To me, Redwood Valley was moving to the city compared to Elk. in Anderson Valley. But it is primarily rural, and I do like that about it. Dollar stores closing all over the country. When you've looked at this, when you've looked at the legalities of this, you've council, and you've looked at aesthetics. You've looked at a very superficial set of criteria, because that's easy to put numbers on. Setbacks, color, height. What goes on inside the store is what we're talking about here. And a planning commission, the job of a planning commission is to look at what goes on inside, to look at the whole picture, to be holistic. If the county's balkanized into little departments that look at each little piece, how are we going to actually build the community that we want? And I'm looking at the folks here, and I've heard some good questions from Jim Little. I see my friend Steve Hall, who's usually on this side of the microphone. I used to remember this side of the microphone fighting this kind of thing. And I just ask you to consider the whole picture. And to the property owner, this is a valuable piece of real estate. I know you're anxious to get money, but do you want to take dirty money in order to make your retirement plans or whatever plans you need for that money? Do you really want to take dirty money from Dollar General store, which is taken from low-wage people, from poor folk eating junk that's ruining their health, or do you want to do something a little bit more progressive and wait a few years for that money that you need? I'm not insulting.
I'm
not insulting. I'm asking a question. Just consider your actions.
I think we can drop that line, though.
I will drop that line. You can take it off the record if you need to. It was just a question I had. All of us need to look inside ourselves and what is it that we can do to make the world a better place, to make our community a better place, and to act out the general plan as a live document, not something that we have to wait another 20 years or 25 years to update so that we can prevent these kinds of things from happening. And thinking is changing. People are going a lot more local, thinking a lot more locally, taking responsibility around business. There's a progression going on here, and you can be a part of that revolution, or you can hide behind the numbers and the facts and allow us to be exploited. So I think I will stop there, and my apologies to the property owner if I insulted her. I only meant to ask, where is our money coming from? What are we doing? Money isn't just power. Money is very complex, and we need to look at what we invest in and what we accept money from. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dorothea would be followed by Donald Burgess.
Our government...
Dorothea, can you pull the mic down?
Sorry.
And tell us your name again, please.
Dorothea Durham. I live on Greenfields Ranch just above Redwood Valley. I've been on my land for 33 years. I used to be a filmmaker, film editor. I love to write about especially environmental issues. I'm an organic gardener, growing fruit trees with bioswales. I've done land restoration. I'm working now on learning more about native plants and planting them. And we have a pollinator garden to help the bees and the butterflies return. And most of my life I've been active in local and political things, but concentrating on where I live. And I've been here now 33 years. And one of the things that's most striking to me as an elder is that the political class no longer represents the people. They do what they want to do. And mostly, they vote for the root of all evil, and that is money. And that's certainly what's happened with Mendocino redwoods being allowed to continue to poison spray the forest and consider all the rest of the life of the forest as collateral damage, which is a term that comes directly from war. And in the time of the Vietnam War, we all shouted, "Bring the war back home." Well, when corporations can move into our local community without us even knowing about it, that's a war, Karma. That's an invasion. And that's what this proposal is. The money leaves the community. Minimum wage jobs, tons of OSHA violations, and money that no longer recirculates in our community. Whereas if we keep the Redwood Valley store that we have and work with the owner, I've already talked to him about bringing in more organic and healthy food, and tried to talk to people at the co-op about maybe opening it up or working with the owner as a satellite of the co-op and bring us organic, natural food and buy from local people here who would love to have an outlet for what they produce, and even to produce for what the store says, well, this is what people are asking for, organic, fresh fruits and vegetables. They're becoming so expensive that we have 25% of the children in the United States are malnourished. The statistics on poverty are shocking. And these big corporate chain stores that take all the money and move it into corporate coffers are not improving our communities. What does Redwood Valley need? Well, I'd love to see a park in that big empty lot across from the store and on the other side of the right angle there across from the fire department. And develop, we were to develop shopping around the little stores around the park, like Healdsburg is. Healdsburg's one of the loveliest towns now in our county that hasn't been ruined by big corporations coming in and building any old thing they want, buying out the politicians who automatically betray the public. And this is a local issue that as we correct our political system and make it more accountable, the people who feel the results of the planning are the ones who should be making the decisions. We also need a bicycle trail. It's I'm a bike rider. My son's a world-class bike racer. And it's extremely dangerous to bike on these roads. I'm not even biking anymore. I've been run over, I've been driven over by a truck, and naturally the court fixed the case for the guy's insurance company, even though the fire chief of Redwood Valley went to court, who saw the accident.
Dorothea, could you wrap up your comments?
Well, we don't
please?
have local government. We don't have local planning. We need the bike trail so you could bike safely into Ukiah without getting killed. And we don't need a duplicate store selling junk from China, which is more fossil fuel pollution to run those ships across the ocean. We can take a bus if you don't have a car to Willits or to Ukiah and get cheap discount stuff. So I would like to see our government restructured so that these decisions are made by the people affected, and you need to listen to us.
Thank you. Donald Burgess.
I'm Donald Burgess, and I have a business in Redwood Valley, and I live in Ukiah. It's a beautiful community in Ukiah, but I look out across the road in Redwood Valley. I see garbage blowing out of Alex's parking lot into our property, immense amounts of garbage. We just happen to be downwind. Our fences collect all that garbage. We don't complain about that. Overflow parking from his store, always blocking my way into my business. We don't complain about that. But what I hear people complaining about is people's right to own and sell their own property. I hear people wanting to oppress and make decisions about whether they think that this use is worthy of an individual being able to sell their own property. This is legally owned property, this is zoned property, this has correctly been approved for this use. They have oppressive urges about the nature of what's going to be sold. Alex sells junk food by the ton in there, Twinkies, donuts, whatever. Nobody complains about that. Buy the better food if you like. And if you all would like to sell a piece of property, I would hope nobody would interfere with your right to do that as free American citizens. but they want to oppress somebody else's right. They'll use any excuse to keep that piece of property a fallow piece of grazing property, which somebody has been grazing for free for many decades and never even said thank you.
Nobody would.
I'm in favor of people's free exercise of their rights. This is an ethical improvement to this community. When I look across from my business, I see flatbed trailers loaded with crushed cars by multiple flatbed trailers, signage that's falling down and never been repainted. It is a blight, but it's on that side of the road, not this side of the road. So I'm looking forward to shopping at Dollar General. I'm looking forward to the freedom of choice being expanded, and I'm looking forward to many years to come enjoying the downtown community of Redwood Valley and seeing this improvement from that pasture to a nicely landscaped parking lot. There's a well that I'm intimately involved with. I just sounded it. It's 270 feet deep. The water level is 13 feet. I'm worried about water coming up in that property, and it is a good well. There is good water in that area. We're all going to be very careful with our water usage, and we know Dollar General will be also. So I'd just like to welcome them to the community and hope that you will do the right thing, support the freedom and the rights of people who own property. Otherwise, what is the point of buying a piece of property if you can't freely sell it?
Thank you. And now Steve Scalmanini. Is Steve here? Steve, there he is. Good. Now, can we please give some respect to our next speaker? Thank you.
My name's Steve Scalmanini, speaking here as an individual, and sadly also a resident outside of Redwood Valley, so one of the few that's been speaking. I hate to take up any of my time to ask for some clarification on legality, but or as a point of process, but can someone confirm whether or not those that do not speak the right for this hearing today lose their right to do so at future hearings like before the, okay. That is the opposite process.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the answer.
No, there's no restriction on who can speak at the board meeting.
Okay, that's at the Board of Supervisors meeting, assuming this goes at that point. Okay, I just want to clarify then a few points on my mind about legalities. There's the issue whether this really conforms to the general plan, and that is the primary issue on my mind. One of the issues is in the general plan is that the development should emphasize creation of permanent jobs for all skill levels over short-term job creation. I certainly don't see how that applies here when this place is known, Dollar General is known to hire minimum wage for their employees as well as their managers apparently, and that overall lowers the payroll for this part of the economy in that part of the county, let alone this whole general area of the county. The number of employees we're talking about is less than currently in this part of the economy, Redwood Valley. The number you were given, about eight employees per store, is probably, in my opinion, a little high. It's probably 7 or 6. That's because they run their own distribution network, you may know. That's one of the ways they keep prices down, but they're paying for that distribution network, so people are working as distributors in their own organization, not in their stores. So again, the number is probably 7, 6, maybe even less than that. Let's see, a third point I wanted to make, if I can find it here in my notes. Well, again, it's a point about being conforming with the general plan, and I wanted to question the point of whether the general plan then was adequate itself. Today you heard about the Redwood Valley plan, or whatever it was called, by one of the previous speakers, but that date on that is 2004, and then the date on the general plan update is 2009. So I didn't hear anyone else mention that. Why wasn't the 2004 document somehow addressed, included in some way in the 2009 general plan? And so that brings up the legal issue to me. Well, should it have or should it not have? And I haven't heard that addressed, so I'm going to bring it up. And I question now whether the general plan was adequate at that time by leaving out a known document partly developed by the county planning department, apparently, who also did the general plan. How could they leave it out? And one of my major concerns is about the blight issue, the possibility of blight there if one store runs the other out of business, and one is doing it with these low wage, minimum wage jobs that where the other store is paying, as far as we know, living wages in the local economy there in Redwood Valley, and that should be addressed by the general plan. And if it is not, then you certainly, in my opinion, have the right to just say no to a development which will threaten the area there with blight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So that is the end of the speaker forms that have been filled out. That doesn't preclude somebody from speaking if you have not yet. Is there anybody that would like to make a new comment?
Well, my name is Marie Hansen, and I just want to respond to, I believe his name was Joe Dell from Cross Development, where he indicated that if anything, our Redwood Valley market would flourish if a Dollar General were put in. I had the opportunity to speak to a mom and pop grocery store out of state, the only left surviving store, with a Dollar General right down the street. The owner indicated that at least 2/3 or 1/2 to 3/4 of his business has been lost to this Dollar General in the form of dry goods. And we're not talking fresh meat or produce. So yes, in fact, the Redwood Valley market could be compromised because of a Dollar General coming into our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak?
Could I just ask a question? What wage does the local store pay? There's someone in the audience, a question in the audience.
I didn't.
$11 to $12. And there's $14 and there's $15.
We need the comment on the record. Would you come up and tell us that, please?
Yeah, I pay $11 in a beautiful.
And identify yourself again, please. For the
Alex
record.
from the Redwood Valley Market. I pay $11, $12, and there's people who gets paid $14 and $15 an hour.
Thank you. The next step in our process, if we're finished with the public input, and I believe we are, will be to go back to the appellant. We'll have brief period, 5 minutes. The applicant will also have a brief period, and then it will go back to the commission and staff. But at this time,